In the week that the television reconstruction of one of the most famous political sex scandals in living memory came to an end, another high-profile career came crashing down when Derek Mackay's litany of inappropriate social media messages to a 16-year-old schoolboy were aired. It's a familiar tale, only the mechanics of delivery and denouement have changed. John Profumo was the Secretary of State for War in 1961 when his affair with a 19-year-old good-time girl, which he at first denied, was revealed. He fell, not for deceiving his wife but the Parliament, lying to the Chamber and the Conservative government. The salacious tale has played out, with some fictional deviations, over 6 weeks on TV in the Trial of Christine Keeler. That Keeler was sharing a bed with a Russian diplomat provided a national security excuse and added piquancy to the sexual stew. Mackay's plunge from a dizzying ascent, tipped as a putative First Minister to instant resignation and suspension from the SNP, is both more tawdry and troubling that he may have been grooming a young boy in a blizzard of unwanted messages, and is unlikely to play out in widescreen in the future. Police may well interview him. Here, then, are the scandals in British political life, selected from a welter, a cornucopia, of duplicity, corruption, sexual shenanigans, arrogance and downright stupidity. The present Duke of York, Andrew, is mired in an alleged sex scandal, connected to a deceased paedophile and a then 17-year-old girl. He denies wrongdoing. A predecessor in 1809, Frederick, not just the Duke of York but the commander of the British armies in the war against Napoleon, found himself accused of selling commissions through an ex-mistress. He was the Duke who marched the 10,000 men to the top of the hill and down again. Parliament exonerated him and he went back to being commander-in-chief. He actually became heir to the throne but dropped dead, of dropsy, before he could take it. It was the poet Philip Larkin who wrote that sexual intercourse began in 1963, probably taking his inspiration from the Profumo affair. The arrest of Mandy Rice Davis, well he would say that wouldn't he? Was the last factor in destroying Profumo. He had had an affair with a Nazi spy in the 1930s, he was quite profligate in his connections to Britain's perceived enemies, although that didn't come out until a couple of years ago. The 1960s may have swung, but things got really interesting in the 1970s. Architect and businessman John Paulson was convicted of bribing council officials for building work in a massive corruption scam. Tory Home Secretary Reginald Maudling, tipped as a future Prime Minister, was forced to resign when it emerged that he was a director in a Paulson company and was pushing business his way. Scandal wasn't confined to the Conservatives. For more on this story, visit the news article link.